So, Aaron, be honest with us. Can you really roast coffee with a 70's hot popcorn popper?
Funny thing, if you would have asked me that a year ago, I would have said, that sounds like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Right now, since you asked me today, I'm going to let you know that you can absolutely make amazing coffee, a simple 70s style air popcorn popper that you should never use to make popcorn, but you should use to make amazing coffee.
How long does it take? I've told you about this. You didn't believe me. I sent you one. Talk about that.
When I first got a bag of beans and an air popcorn popper for my birthday, I said, okay, this sounds hard, right? I mean, but making a coffee sounds hard. Roasting it, the different levels, all it sounds like a complicated process. However, I got that. I watched a 5-minute video and read a one-page description
That came with
that
the
came with
popper.
the
Yeah.
popper, right? And so the next thing I do is I kind of open that sucker up, and I would say from start to finish, I made like a pound of roasted coffee. Maybe 40 minutes, 45 minutes, give or take, only because I was going slow trying to make sure I was doing it right. But when you really get down to it, you could make an amazing pound of coffee your very first time without hardly doing a thing, without hardly reading a thing. It's extremely simple process.
You drank some decaf the other night. We chatted about decaf in the last episode, how it's actually pretty decent when you roast it yourself. You had some decaf the other night. Chat about that for a second.
Well, I got to admit, I'm kind of a night owl, right?
Yeah,
So
you-
I'd
you are.
enjoy staying up late.
More texts come from you between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. than any other time.
Yeah, and you've got your phone turned off.
Right, exactly.
And so it's me time.
Right.
Okay. It's me time. Right. So I've been busy all day. And then when my wife gets home and then she needs to give her words to me, I'm out of words. She gives her words. I'm listening and my daughter, and they have a lot of words for me. Right. And so when it comes down to it, my daughter goes to bed, my wife falls asleep. There's some me time I need. Now in the past, and I think there's probably a lot of people out there who can sympathize with this, or this is their experience as well, is you're watching the latest Netflix original and you need to be doing something. So I grab a bag of Costco chips and some salsa or my favorite Chex Mix or whatever snack it might be. And I just pound that stuff until it's time to go to bed. And of course, we can all see where this is going, right? So I needed something else. And of course, I love coffee in the morning and I wanted something to imbibe late at night, any old day. I remember one day I said, "Oh, maybe I'll have some of that decaf I made with that air popper." And I pulled it out and I ground it. I set it up. And next thing I realize, I am having this amazing cup of coffee at 11:30. I finish the show I'm going to watch, go to bed, I curl up and I fall right asleep, right? And I didn't snack on it. That was the magic. So it totally satisfied me for everything.
Right. And this isn't snacking advice. This is just, gosh darn it, a really good cup of decaf, which you very seldom hear those two terms together.
Right.
Decaf that you roasted yourself in a hot air popcorn popper from a 5-minute video and a printout that you got on your 50 what birthday?
That was 51.
51,
My
exactly.
51st, yeah.
And so doable. Now, what is the biggest negative of the hot air popper?
I think some people might say the amount of coffee you can do at the same time. I think for a lot of people, if you were to buy an expensive coffee roaster, kind of like yours, right? You got one that's a bit more.
$100, yeah.
100
Yeah,
bucks,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
We don't mess around. You can do like a pound of coffee
Yeah.
at a time, right? And
Yeah.
how long does that take you?
About 20 minutes.
20 minutes. So I think you have a lot of buttons on there and knobs, right?
Right.
That you can have temperature gauges and
Right.
exactness. And,
Right.
and you go, ooh, it is now at X darkness. Hey, this
Yeah.
is perfect, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little more primitive,
Right.
right, with this and a little less exact.
Right.
And with the popcorn popper, you can do about a half cup at a time. So picture when you get that air popcorn popper and that little cup on the top where you usually melt the butter, where the butter usually melts while you're popping the popcorn, right? That's about a half a cup. So that's what I use now to measure out my beans. I used to have a measuring cup Now I go, oh, wait a minute. I could use that butter cup on the top. So it's really nice. I just fill up some green beans in that butter melter cup. I put it in there, turn that sucker on, and depending how dark I want it, and it depends on how cold it is outside, there's a lot of variables. So it takes about, I want to say probably 5 to 6 minutes for me to roast a half a cup of beans. I think I do about 4, maybe 5 of those to fill up a pound of coffee, which is a canister I have. And you do the math. 5 minutes per half cup of beans and 4 or 5 of those. Then I got enough for a pound. And I usually try to do a couple of canisters of that.
Negative is a little bit at a time.
Yeah, it probably takes a little bit longer.
Right. Negative's not as much precision.
Precision, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing really missing from the process. You're not going, oh, Paul, your $100 roaster makes better coffee than my hot air popcorn roaster.
And you know what's interesting, Paul, is that I remember you were really proud when you got that $100 roaster, right? You're all, ooh, Aaron, I'm next level.
Yeah,
next level. That was you, right? And I'm like, what'd you do? Right? I got a, what is it? What is it?
I just remember
You don't even remember what it
I
is?
just went to Amazon and typed in roaster.
So it's called a coffee roaster.
Sure, something.
So there's not a version.
You can also do nuts in it, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Try some almonds,
Roast
right?
nuts, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So you got a coffee/nut roaster.
Sure, exactly.
Okay, right. So anyway, you were really proud of yourself.
Right.
Well, there, next level. I'm getting more advanced, right? And so I came over one time to talk about, I think, whether we're going to do this show.
Right.
And you showed me this roaster and a little thing that's going around, and you with all your dials and beeps and boops, and you're like, oh yeah,
make it be on the boops.
Beeps and boops, right? And you're like, ooh, I'm gonna do a full city roast.
Yeah.
Right, which we'll talk about later. And you did it, and you timed it, and beep, timer went off, and you were done, right?
Yeah.
So I guess you can say that's really cool in that I got it the way I wanted it. I got it really fast.
Right.
For me, I felt like it lost something.
Oh,
I know, right?
The artist in you.
Well, see, I am an artist.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, if there's one thing you'd always say about me,
he's
artist, right? But I got to tell you, when I was roasting that coffee and I don't have a timer, and there's these variables of how cold it is outside,
right?
Because you need to have a certain temperature. That air popper is very efficient in the heating. However, I'm listening to the beans.
Right.
I never thought I'd be listening to coffee beans.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you hear this. You're waiting for that first crack. It's called the first crack, which is talking about you crack, crack, crack. I go, ooh, that's the first crack, right? And then I am waiting for it to mellow out. And then there's the second crack, which is kind of like a Rice Krispies a little bit.
Right.
And then I know, oh, that's when I want to end it, right? But I could fiddle with that.
Right.
But it's all my gut.
Right.
It's all just knowing how the beans work, right? And so for me, that is fun. That's fun. You can't do that with yours anymore.
Right.
And then I'm watching the chaff, we even have to catch the chaff. There's a whole thing. My wife kicked me out of the house, with that. But I mean, there's ways to contain it. Okay. But for me, there's all these steps. And to me, the fun part was the uncertainty.
Right. Okay.
The fun part was the lack of precision. Cause then I can say, oh, I did this really well, instead of that roaster did this really well. It's like, I did that really well. Okay. So there's kind of a satisfaction.
All right. So long story short, very doable. Doesn't mess with the quality at all. You might get variance in all the different things with what you're doing, but it just makes a really, as you love to say, amazing cup of coffee.
Well, it's a great conversation piece too.
Right.
Like I remember when I first got this from you, right? And I set it up, and the first thing I did after I started making this is I took photos and I sent it to my friends. I go, hey, look at my new hobby.
Right.
And they're all, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm roasting coffee with this popcorn popper. And my friend texts me back and says, you can do that?
Right.
Oh yeah. So I got him a present not too much later, and he's doing it now too. It's really catchy. It's addicting. And I go to a party now and go, by the way, guess what I do with my coffee?
Yes.
Or, well, since we're drinking coffee.
Yes.
Speaking of coffee.
Yes.
Look what I do.
Right.
The life of the party.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you say, oh, I got a coffee roaster, and oh yeah, that's a big deal. But I roasted a popcorn popper. Everybody wants to hear that story.
Right. Okay.
So if you're trying to get popular at parties, boom.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. So future episodes, we're going to chat about my popper. We might even look, Sweet Maria's recently launched a product called the Popper, which is their, I don't know the origin story, but it's under $100. It's that same hot air popcorn popper shell, but it's got some stuff that lets you control a little bit more.
It's
But
kind, it's
that's
kind of
the
a
fun part.
hybrid
Right.
between what I do as an
Right.
artist and what you do as a techie,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
So it's like a mini popcorn popper, but you got some of those boops and beeps and,
Okay.
and buttons and knobs to just get a little bit more of that precision, right?
It's still like about a half cup at a time or something like that. But I thought that was really interesting.
That would be my next level.
Okay.
I think when I'm finally ready to kind of take to the next step, I think that would be my next level.
All right.
Yeah.
So roastedhomeshow.com/2 for this episode. We'll have the links to everything and probably just most of the links of what we did, last episode as well. And we will, in future episodes, we'll talk about my roaster. We might look at the popper. We might look at going up. But next episode 3, you really wanted to chat about the kinds of roasting.
Right.
So give a little sneak peek there.
Well, I've never known this about coffee because as a drinker of coffee in my adult life, I thought everybody kind of roasted it very much the same. It's French roast. It's what I've known now as French roast.
Binary. It's either raw or it's roasted.
Which, yeah, I called it coffee.
Right.
Now it's called French roast.
Right.
So I didn't realize that there were different flavors that you can get from different types of levels of roasting. The lighter roast, there's one called City, and the next level would be City Plus. Then there's Full City Plus. Then after Full City Plus, you start getting into some of those darker roasts that we're used to as Americans at Dunkin' Donuts.
Right.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well.
All right.
Did you want to tell them on the show notes? Also, there will be a link if you want to get an air popcorn popper from Sweet Maria's. It will come with 4 pounds of green coffee for, I think it's $24.
Yeah.
So for $24, you get the popper, which
Right.
usually you buy for about 10 anyway.
Right.
And then you get 4 pounds of gourmet coffee from different regions of the world. Like when I got mine, I had a pound from Latin America. I had a pound from Asia. I had a pound from Africa. And then I had a pound of decaf from Guatemala as well. They give you a sampler plus a air popcorn popper if you don't have one already.
Now, at this point, at the time of this recording, we are not being paid by Sweet Maria's to do this. If at any point Sweet Maria's wants to pay for us to do this, we are open for negotiations.
Am I going to get sued for mentioning Sweet Maria?
No.
Okay.
We're mentioning them well. We're
Right.
we're just letting you know that this is not, at least at this point in the game, this is not a hidden commercial for Sweet Maria's. We are going to explore. We actually, a couple of months ago, we went to Mr. Green Beans here in Portland, Oregon, and we tried.
That was a
their,
great experience.
That was a ton of fun. I'm just finishing that up. Actually, probably tomorrow will be the last.
Yeah,
one.
actually, I just finished.
I gave away a lot of it, so
gave some
that
too.
was fun. But so we'll hit this in future episodes. But this is the episode. Yeah, you can really enter this game at $24, or really, get a pound of green coffee somewhere and use the popcorn popper that you might, have in the closet, wondering what the heck you're going to do with it.
Right. And again, you'll be surprised at, well, A, how cheap it is to get started, and B, how easy it is. No studying involved, no big books. It's just, hey, throw the beans in there, roast it for a while, and boom, you're good to go.
You've been listening to the Roasted Home Show. You can find out more about the Roasted Home Show at, get this, roastedhome.com. Now, if you want to follow us on Twitter, get this, you're at Twitter/Roasted Home Show. You're at Facebook/
Roasted Home.
Roasted Home Show. Yes. And if you want to go to Instagram, where are we at, Aaron?
Is it Roasted Home?
Yeah, Roasted
It's
Home Show.
it's almost like we did that on purpose.
It's like we did that on purpose.
Wow.
Thanks so much. We'll chat with you next time. Bye now.